Good morning, everybody.
Oh, yay. Good morning, everyone.
Good
Hey, look at
morning.
I'm in my new studio. Thank you to the Las Cruces community
Yay!
for setting me up in a studio. I'm really, really, really happy. And I have to do a plug and a little shout out to we're going to have a new show that's starting called New Mexico Cares. You don't want to miss it. The official launch will be the first part of October, but we're going to do a preliminary show hopefully in the next 10 days, maybe even next week. Not really sure yet, but it's going to be about all the things that are happening in New Mexico with a little bit of the relationship between people and pets and how they can really move forward in getting some solutions to the community. So that's it. So
Excellent.
I'm all excited. I'm happy. I'm in my new studio and we're ready to go. We got a co-host area and we got a producer area too, so that I can have somebody produce the show for us too. So Gaetan and Roman, we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good news, Kathy. I'm
Yeah.
so happy. You're smiling. You're full
Yes,
of
yes, I
energy.
am. Yeah.
You're out of the ditch.
I'm out of the
Finally,
ditch. I'm out of I'm out. I'm out. Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
out of the the cage.
Out of the cage, out of the prison. Yeah, right.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thanks God. Roman.
Yes, sir.
Hi. Good morning.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Buongiorno. Buenos dias. Ça va bien?
Ah, très bien.
Okay, good.
Sounds French.
Hi, Dale.
I
Dale's
have French
watching.
coffee. That's funny.
There is watching. And we were talking about food. You have a cup of coffee there.
Yep.
And good morning, Dale. And I think the topic today is around food, dog, interaction between the food and the dog, and some behavior which are questionable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, my brother and I used to have a thing about food. If my mother put out sandwiches, we would lick our finger and poke the sandwiches that this one's mine, this one's mine, this one's mine. So I think that dogs, once you give them their food, that they take ownership of it. Oh no, I know what it was. We said I got dibs on this one, this one, this one, and that one. It was
Okay.
dibs. So is that anything like what we're going to talk about today? Dogs owning
Yeah,
their
it's
food?
kind of like your style is like a proactive approach.
Yeah.
Doctor Roman, please.
I'm not a doctor. What are you
No, I know, but okay, Your Honor, please enlighten us.
First of all, I want to give everybody a heads up that we're talking about resource here, and I know there's a miscommunication what resource guarding is. People think resource guarding is, an aggressive dog who wants to kill you and your family over their food. And, you put your family and the dog will take over your family and your other dogs and your kids. And it's all this fear. I don't want to say the porn word. However, we need to look for from a broader perspective. So I want to point out 7 likely reasons why the dog shows resource guarding. And we need to recognize that resource guarding is a very basic behavior, and it's needed for the dog to survive. So it's a survival response.
Okay.
And
I just can you explain the expression you use? Food cutting, you said?
no, food guarding.
Food guarding.
Okay.
Guarding.
Food guarding.
Again, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. Don't touch it. Yeah.
Okay. Food guarding.
Very often it's the idea, the concept out shared, and it's not wrong, but it's not really giving the whole spectrum of the behavior. Where people says, "Oh, the dog wants to be his. It's his or mine, or it's mine," and so on. I understand. I'm going to get a coffee, and I'm in a coffee shop, and there's my name on it, right? And I paid for it, and somebody wants to grab that coffee. This is where you see resource guarding. You're like, "Hey, what are you doing? It's my coffee."
Are you saying, Roman, that the dog becoming human? and
No,
selfish.
but resource guarding is something very, very common in mammals. It's
Okay.
the way to survive. And
Okay.
so we are very intense in resource guarding. We resource guard our country, our cars, our property, our house, our wedding, our marriage, and all these things. We kind of put a name and a tag on it because it's ours.
Mhm.
But we don't see that coming in from a dog. From a dog, we see that, oh, that's aggressive. You know, we should get punished. We should stop that from happening. Not recognizing that it's actually a very basic emotion that's happening here. If a dog struggles in any way and he feels he's going to die, is it a trauma? Is it a environmental factor? Is it a medical underlying condition? Is it eventually, for example, a vaccination side effect? Or is it a learned behavior? Is it a neurological issue? Or the dog is simply hungry? All these are reasons why the dog should show resource guarding, to warn everybody that I don't feel comfortable right now. Stay away from it, what I have, because it's the only thing I have left.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And many times I see, and I remember it was back in 2010, I was sitting in a house, and in particular, there was a session about the puppy being resource guarding. And while I was sitting there and having, coffee, because it was early in the first session and people were nice to me having coffee with me, right? In the background, suddenly kids coming out of the room, screaming and yelling and attacking a 5-month-old puppy having something in his mouth, which was a sock. And I was literally seeing 3 kids. One was pulling the sock, the other one was pulling the leg, and the other one the tail to get the sock out. Now, my question was to her mother, who do you think is resource guarding right now?
Yeah.
Right? So there are 3 against 1 resource guarding something the dog already has that he found on the floor because somebody didn't need it. And all of a sudden we're hopping on that dog, trying to take it away from him, teaching the dog actually that we are violent of something the dog possesses, because dogs have rights, like we have rights. Like, for example, you're walking down the desert in New Mexico somewhere, right? And you find $1,000 bill right there in front of you. You look right, you left, nobody's there. You're picking it up, and somebody from a chopper comes down to you. You're not touching this. This is mine. And you're like, really?
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't know it was
right. Or a glass of water in the desert, or a sandwich. All these things are expression of resource guarding.
How many coffee did you get this morning?
How many coffees?
Yes, because you're pretty much on the good eye. You're pretty much on eye gear right now.
Wait,
No.
I have a question. I have a
Yes.
question. Now, Roman, when Charlie, if I put like a cookie on the floor or something, Charlie will not go up to it. I literally have to say to him, "This is for Charlie. This is for you." Now, once I give it to him, immediately that is his possession, and nobody better touch him. If you try and come near him, he'll growl, because that's his. He'll carry that cookie around with him everywhere.
Right.
He'll drop it, and if he drops it, he eyeballs it. He's turning to the side, because you better not go near that cookie, because then he goes and gets it.
Right.
Now, isn't that strange that I could put it on the floor? It's not his. It's not until it becomes his
Right.
that I give it to him that he takes ownership.
Right. Well,
That's very smart, isn't it?
It is. It actually shows that a dog has morals and ethics compass, which is
Yeah.
healthy. Well, if you put it on the floor, it's yours. He understands that you and the cookie have a bond. Okay?
Yeah.
It's your cookie. But once he gets that cookie, then it becomes his. And therefore, he has all the rights over it.
Very cool.
Right?
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
cool, but we just ignore it. Most people ignore that aspect. They think it's because it's a child's sock, the dog cannot have it. And my question is, if it would be really the child's sock, why is it free accessible to the dog? The dog knows what's on the floor, it's his, because that's what we conditioned him. We put the treats on the floor, his toys are on the floor, everything is on the floor, well, including the sock.
Yeah.
So
Right.
therefore, we give the dog that right and that permission to claim what is on the floor as his, and what's elevated off the floor, it's not his.
Excellent point.
Right? And so we have to, if we want to change that aspect, how the dog sees things, we need to explain to him that it's only what it is on a safe place. in his territory that is very clearly defined as a safe place for him to be. There is no question that it's his, nobody challenging that it's his, and everything that's on that place, it belongs to him. And we as humans are protecting his property and his items from anybody else who could be a threat. Now, when things become a threat is important. If the dog is stressed, other things can become a threat. If the dog is in pain, everything else can be a threat. Because if in a stressful situation or the dog is in pain, he naturally starts protecting himself and his territory from more pain to come in, or more stress to come in, or more, let's call it stimulation or stimulus to come in. And so we need to become very clear. Okay, thread. Now, treat. What was the question about treat? What is a treat? What is a thread? A treat is whatever the dog perceives as a reward. Okay, we treat ourselves with holidays, we treat ourselves with a heavy car, we treat ourselves with a nice dinner and glass of wine. A dog can treat himself with taking a time off, going in a safe place. Sometimes that safe place is the couch, which is a problem zone, because we share common space and a safe place. The dog is sitting on the couch, he feels safe. But if people come in where the dog feels stressed, he doesn't have a safe place because they just took over his safe place. This is where people come in and the dog starts resource guarding the couch over strangers and children that come in and occupy that place. And so we see that resource guarding is not an aggressive behavior. It's a warning, telling everybody, hey, I feel challenged right now. What you do is affecting me emotionally. I feel threatened. I'm in pain. I need that to comfort myself. I need that to survive. I need that space to feel safe. And so we see these as a general idea. It's not one particular behavior.
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
Resource guarding. Katie, your example of Charlie, you put the cookie on the floor and then you give permission.
Exactly. Well, actually, I don't put it on the floor. I'll put it on the floor and he won't touch it. I have to literally pick it up and then I have to give it to him, and then he'll sniff it. And sometimes he'll decide, I don't know if I want it. He'll turn away and then he'll come back and I have to say, no, this is for Charlie. This is Charlie's. You can have it. And then very gently he'll take it. I just noticed that Dale put up a comment here. Dale took care of Charlie quite often when I was in the hospital and stuff, and he's absolutely right. Charlie will share his cookie, but he has to bring it to you first. If you try and go and get it, don't touch it. But he may bring it over and he'll drop it in front of you. If he drops it right in front of you, then he's actually giving you a gift.
Yes.
Yeah.
You also have to see resource guarding as a trauma response. Let's say, for example, we have children. Some of you had children. I don't, in particular, but I was a child and have friends who have children, and I was stepfather to children. They're going through a stage where they discover mine. They discover themselves and things that belong to them, and they start to hold on to this. And then there are other children who want that the other one has, and they want to play with it because it's so fun, because one person has fun, so the other person wants to have fun with it. And all of a sudden it becomes a dispute.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And we see all this concept when mom comes in and says, no, you have to share with your friend.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa, hold on. What message is that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
you have to share with your friends. That's stingy.
To force you to share with your friend who wants what you have that belongs to you, and this other person is not patient enough to wait for his own turn, but he wants what you have. What exactly are we rewarding?
Yeah.
And so with dogs comes the same aspect. We project that human aspect of things, and we see that false parenting skill that says you have to share.Ait a minute. So you're telling me right now, if your friend comes home and claims your husband, you're supposed to share your husband? Right? No. Or how about the parking spot? You're going in the parking spot. You're now in 5 minutes to go shopping and you have to share your parking spot. Like, what
No.
is that? However, we need to see from a social perspective that the dog has the choice to share what he has with somebody who is in need. There's a difference between I want and I need. If
Right.
another dog is hungry, the dog may share it, but if the dog just wants it because he's like, I don't want you to have that, I want that to have mine, that is a completely different aspect of it. And at the same time, we see that we are reinforcing that the wrong way because we go there and we intervene in those social behaviors, and it shouldn't be happening. So
Excuse
do I
me.
say dogs should figure it out themselves?
No, go.
No. If they don't have this social structure and these social rules in place where disputes are being resolved either with each other but under supervision, or if you have a problem, then come to me. And we need to teach that these dogs, because those social skills, unfortunately, with pets don't come naturally because we don't socialize the dogs. And especially now through COVID, we don't have those social play dates. We don't have the social skills that usually come in place. And that causes a lot of problems. So more dogs shows resource guarding, more dogs feel stressed about new events, more dogs feel the sense of protecting themselves, the parents they live with, or the property because they're not being properly socialized. And socializing doesn't mean only meeting people, meeting dogs. Meaning is understanding how to solve conflicts, recognizing that, hey, if you share your stuff, there is more stuff coming. You don't have to hold it because there's more stuff in abundance. And sometimes we have trauma that kicks in for a dog. For example, dogs who come from breeding facilities where the trauma comes in imprinted as a prenatal trauma, where the stressor is there and hunger is there and there's not enough food there available. And these dogs constantly living in stress. The body is constantly under survival response. In survival response, the dog's body is talking, not the brain. So even if the dog knows the skills of sharing and not feeling threatened of things being taken away, very often dogs don't have that experience because they never felt calm enough to share things. And I also see dogs who have not fed enough as puppies because people, unfortunately, they go strict by the recommendation of the dog food bag, but the dog food bag is kind of like an estimate. Many dogs don't have enough food. Many dogs are feeding only twice a day as puppies, which actually they should be 4 times a day as puppies. So the puppy eats as much as it can, and then he has to suffer hungry until the next evening. And so he's constantly hungry and constantly starving for food. And then we have nutritional issues because the puppy is eventually sick or doesn't have good immune system or doesn't have enough digestive system and he lacks on nutrients, and now he's guarding his food because of lack of nutrients. So we have medical underlying conditions. So what I want to say here is you should not punish resource guarding. You should not make the dog feel intimidated when he feels that he has to resource guard his food. There's always a reason for that. I see many people who use shock collars, prong collars, spray bottles, choke collars, punishment, shaker cans, all these things to suppress resource guarding, and which basically creating is they trigger a time bomb. They switch a time bomb on, it can explode at any time because the dog is protecting his food and we're suppressing that warning signal, and the dog at some point will not be able to contain his emotions and then he will bite and react. If he doesn't do it to his people, he will do it to somebody else. If he does it to his parents or his human parents, he will go after the children because there's a priority in a survival response. Who do I need to survive? Who do I not need to survive? So if I feel threatened by somebody who I don't need to survive, I'm going to take him down to survive. If I have somebody who I need to survive, I will contain myself as much as I can. I'd rather go somebody else. Redirected aggression very often because of that frustration. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Go ahead, Teti.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
so I see very often people prescribing medication for food who have resource guarding. And medication causes more stress, and sometimes those medication causes even harm to digestive issues. Sometimes the food is so low quality and people are not aware of the low quality of their food because they're just buying into these gimmicks and marketing gimmicks and brainwashing and laundering, and not seeing, actually understanding the nutritional value of food.
Well, can I add something onto this? You know what bothers me a tremendous amount is when I see at a shelter where they've euthanized because of resource guarding.
Yeah, I mean,
How shameful is that?
how many
Instead of
females?
moving the bowl out or not making or making certain that they're separate from each other or something, because think about it, in a shelter, where are they resource guarding? In the kennel.
Let me make a connection here.
Mm,
How many times have we something that's high value of us because it's the last thing we have of somebody we love?
yeah.
Okay. How much can a dog connect with a ball that reminds him to his family? How many times a chew toy is a comfort for stress? How many times something that's movable and an enrichment and causing enrichment is the only thing we have available in a cell made out of walls, and the whole stressors are out there barking, yelling, screaming, making noises and stress and moisture and dirt. And then you have only one thing you can hold on to that gives you hope. Okay. And then you defend that you believe you need to hold on because of hope, because it's the only thing you can hold on to finally. And then somebody wants to take away from you, and then it will kill you for wanting that gives you hope. Would you let that happen to a person? Not even to
Right.
an enemy. There are laws for enemies who you put in prison. At least they have something to hold on to, right? Even their name. Not even that we have in dogs. It's just a number, right? But on the other hand, we need also to see that many dogs are being killed for their puppies being lost. So the females are being killed for resource guarding around their puppies. So the puppies being adopted out and the females being killed for resource guarding, which is a natural behavior of a mother. Jesus.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. When you equate it to humans and animals, it's very much related together. I think if we look at it the way exactly like you're saying, if there's a sock on the floor, how is the dog supposed to know? How is the child supposed to know that the sock belongs to the dog it's kind of silly.
I'm not comparing humans with dogs. I'm comparing mammals with each other.
Right. Yeah.
Okay? We're all mammals who give birth to animals or to children or to puppies. I call them cow puppies. Okay. It doesn't matter what species that is. We have a certain way of protecting it. We have a certain way of guarding our food and our resources. Is it a safe place? Why is the goat attacking another goat for invading her personal space? Why are we going after the neighbor if he's cutting our grass that we want to grow? How we respond to a person driving into our parking lot, how does a dog respond if somebody enters our property? So we need to see those connections. We shouldn't put our head in the sand and says, well, we shouldn't humanize dogs. It's just a cheap excuse for not understanding the basic animal behavior.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. Well, when we talk about things that are belonging to the dogs, what is the message that you want to give to humans? I heard you say that don't punish the dog, but is there a way that they should give them a treat or something? Okay.
Yes. Let's give me an example. For example, when we have a problem and we want to keep something for ourselves, okay, let's say for a coffee mug, when do I feel threatened? What are the aspects that makes me feel threatened by something? A, the distance. B, the intentions of the person, if I can read what they're up to, their body language, how they look at me, how they look at my coffee mug. And so I start connecting those dots, right?
Okay.
And all of a sudden, I create a threshold line. When is that a threat and when it's just a trigger? So something I don't mind being in my house, seeing somebody passing by, that's okay. So that's under threshold. Now I have seen somebody who's looking over my fence. Ooh, that's at threshold. And it was like, what is he up to? Right? What is he doing there?
Yeah.
And then that person passes my gate or my property line, and I'm over threshold because now I'm going outside. What do you want? So I'm reacting to that. So dogs have the same aspect. They have under threshold, at threshold, and over threshold. So what I want to teach the dog to show me when he feels not comfortable. So I take measures and I give him a feedback. So if my dog suddenly, while he's chewing on stuff, suddenly stops chewing and he's like, in his mind, what are you up to? Oh, I come with good intentions. Look what I have in my hand. Yummy cheese. And your dog is like, holy bark, I want what you have. Yeah. What do you do for it? Oh, I'm going to drop what I have because I want what you have. Sure. But I'm not coming into your space. You have to come to me. Here you go. Good job. Now go mind your business. So now we're teaching the dog that if ever coming at your threshold and you think I'm a threat, I'm going to prove you that I come with good intentions with those cheeses. And your dog is like, oh, now I can predict what you're up to, because every time you come with good intentions and you always come up with something to uptrade, I really appreciate you coming over. Good thought. Now all of a sudden we teach the dog that I am not a threat. I'm your safe person. I always come with something. Instead of coming to take things away, I come to offer you things. And then all of a sudden it says, hey, how about you come and sit on my table? By the way, don't forget your cheese. And you're like, sure, I got this. So while I'm chewing and you give me my cheese, you can hang out with me, giving me the cheese, whatever you want, while I'm chewing on my bone. All of a sudden, we're sitting on the same table with that person that was little before a threat. Mm-hmm. How do we invite people in our house? Just on the first sight? Or do we...
Oh, we lost you.
We cannot hear you.
So we want to make sure that we teach the dog. We want to make sure that we teach the dog that we come in with good intentions. Okay? We come in with exchange, but for him to take that exchange, we need that counter behavior. You need to agree upon it. Mm-hmm. And so the dog, we start desensitizing our approach, our presence, and our presence in a close proximity. So 20 feet, 10 feet, 6 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet. And then we have finally an exchange. And if, for example, I will take here an example. The dog is chewing on this, right? That's the dog, right? And I says, hey, I got a cheese. And your dog is like, oh, I want that cheese. And you're like, good. Here's the thing. I'm giving you that cheese. In exchange, I take that. Is it okay?
Yeah.
And the dog is, sure, I like that cheese. Good.
Yeah.
And once we have that established, then we can say to the dog, hey, what you just did, I call it drop it. And for that, you get the cheese.
Yeah, very good. Yeah. I love that. Yeah, that's great. Yeah.
And so what we do, we condition the dog that we share emotions with words. So if I say drop it, you want my cheese.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to say something here.
Yes.
This is the genius of this approach. Okay?
Yeah.
I never heard this approach before. And to name something in the context of the event, and for the dog to associate the name with the event, I never saw that done that way before.
Mm-hmm.
No, because we usually condition the dog taking the things away. I call it drop it, which is a wrong emotion.
Yeah, right.
The dog may take it away from you, but if you say drop it, and it's like, no way, then you're actually rewarding the dog for not wanting to drop it.
And you know what, you're actually going along with natural instinct, because if you think about it, everyone wants what somebody else has. So like you said, if you put up the cheese and I'll trade you this for that, well, yeah, I want what you have. So yeah, I'll trade.
Right.
It goes right along the natural instinct lines of everybody in general. So yeah, very good point. Well done, Roman. Well done.
We established before everything that we established a secure attachment relationship. The dog knows what we're up to. He trusts us. He was otherwise not allowing us to come close to him because we respect his needs.
Yeah.
Okay, we respect his problems and his issues, so we are partnering. Mm-hmm. And once we are partnering, then the dog will more likely share with things. But however, we need to eliminate before that. We need to eliminate any underlying conditions that doesn't make the dog feel comfortable, even with our presence, like digestive issues or belly ache or being in pain. Okay? And so after we establish trust, after we establish our relationship, who am I, who are you in that relationship? And after we establish a secure bond, and now we're establishing rules. I have the cheese, you have the toy, I have what you want, what would you do for it? And all of a sudden we have a free will exchange. The dog wants to give up that toy because he wants what we have, and we freely exchange it under one condition. you have to let go of what you have so I can give it to you. And then we up it up a little bit. Discover building up credit. Now that I have what you want, I need to pick it up first, and then I give it to you. Is it okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I have a question.
Lending you something.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is, for me, it's fascinating. No less than that. Now, I'm a script writer. I'm thinking. I'm listening to you, and I have this picture coming to me. The dog pick up a toy, bring it to you, expecting in exchange for the toy a piece of cheese. Is that making commerce?
Well,
Yeah,
here's what
it is. Yeah, barter in
exchange.
exchange.
Because if my dog is used to treats or my dog is used to cheese, and I'm getting stuck with those cheese and treats, watch for this. And then my dog says, "Hey, I want your cheese," and you says, "I have apples," and your dog is like, "I'm not giving you things for apples." It's because you based that relationship only in exchange for money, or for example, with a particular value, because we didn't pair it with other things. For example, drop it and let me get you something that you want, or drop it and I come and get you something. So we haven't built that trust that even if I don't have cheese, I have something else that you may like. And your dog is like, "What is that?" "Well,
Yeah.
I have a squeaky toy."
Yeah.
And
Do you
he's
want
like,
it?
"Oh, right. Now that
Yeah,
I see
I'll
the
take it.
squeaky toy, I want a squeaky toy." And you're like, totally good.
Yeah.
So trade, it's not always what you want, it's what the dog has expectations.
Yeah.
So many times I've seen people struggling with, "Well, my dog is on his bed, he's guarding the bed, and I don't have any cheese in my bed. What else can I do?"
Yeah.
Well, how about you grab a sock? And how about you toss the sock in the corner, and your dog is like, "Oh, I want that sock." Well, go and get it. And by the way, thanks for jumping off the bed, because now I'm going on the bed, and now you have to ask permission to come on the bed, so now we're even.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So troubleshooting skills is very important in relationships, just as we're having a dog relationship. And we shouldn't get stuck with one particular option. We should open up the field of exchange. Right? Sometimes the better our relationship is, the more value our relationship has over a cheap cheese.
Yeah.
If I say to the dog, "Hey, I'm going for a walk," and the dog is like, "Holy Bart, I don't care about cheese. I want walk right now." Sure,
Yeah.
let's grab the leash then.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, the whole guarding thing around the bed and all these things is gone, because right now the dog has a different interest. So instead of going down the battle and fighting about an interest, how about we trigger another interest? Like, for example, advertising is based on that. Why would you buy a car? You have a car. Right? You watched a movie. Why watching another movie? How many times we have watched the same movie with the same title all over again, a different version? Well, we saw the first movie. What's the difference on the other one? Well, the other one is better. And you're like, "Oh my God, I need to see that movie. I need to see that car. I want to drive that property." Right? I don't want to take out that girl or that boy. Why? Because I want more. So dogs do want more. They want to explore. They want to expand. They want to improve. They want to evolve. We can use all these aspects to help them evolve by teaching them different versions of things. It could be a walk. It could be a jump in the car. It could be, "Hey, let's have a snack." Yeah, your dog, you can give your dog a little bit of a pizza. He's not going to die on it. Well, don't give him chocolate. Don't give him other fruits that he shouldn't have. But it's not a bad thing to give him a little bit of a pizza if it comes down to avoiding a fight.
Yeah.
Now, I know some dogs are extra smart. I'm not saying names, right? Who come in and says, "Hey, I'm resource cutting your food right now." And you're like, "Oh, let me give you a treat for it." I was like, "I knew you're going to give me a treat for it."
Yeah.
So I want to see where the functional behavior becomes a problem, because we need to find out why the dog shows these behaviors anyway. So sometimes it's just insecurity. Sometimes it's the dog just miscommunicates. Sometimes the dog is just jealous because we pay attention to another dog more when we pay attention to him. Sometimes we let the other dog get away with murder while we don't let the other dog. And so the dog comes in with justice issues. Why is this dog doing things that are not justified, and I do things and I get a blame for it?
Yeah.
Okay? And all of a sudden we have this issue of communications and role plays, where the dog is confused about his role in the family, and that becomes an issue. Okay.
Speaking of communication, Charlie can have a bone in his or a cookie in his mouth, and he likes these no rawhide chicken bacon wrap up things. Yeah, and as soon as I open up the bag, he'll drop that cookie to come over and, well, what do you got? What do you got? So I let him sniff in there and everything, and it's funny because at that time he could care less about that cookie. All he wants now is what's there. So going back to your original thing about everybody wants what everyone else has. So he sees that I've got something different or something new, and he's willing to give it up without me even asking.
And we shouldn't see dogs coming from an ego place.
Yeah, right.
Okay, dogs don't have ego, but as species, they're very curious. Like, for example, come in the house and hold a bag, and the dog is like, I'm not saying any names. What's that? Right? And so, let him smell it.
Yeah, right.
And, well, you cannot have that, but you can have this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay, I'll take it. So
I'll take it.
Curiosity is what gets the dog to people. And I think we shouldn't ignore curiosity, because that's what got us having our best friends next to us.
Mm-hmm.
If the dog wouldn't be curious, he wouldn't be with other species. And so we cannot blame him for being curious. We cannot punish him for wanting something somebody else has, because he's curious. So curiosity is a very good trait. We shouldn't punish that.
Right.
Because if we punish curiosity, we compromise the dog's character. So if he's not allowed to be curious, he's not allowed to do anything. Not smelling, not listening, not looking at things. Everything is punishable by law. Really?
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is, instead of improving the situation, we created a disaster, an emotional disconnect. We ruin our relationship because we are overly strict about what the dog can and what he cannot do. And I don't think we would have any friends in our home if we're not letting our friends explore ourselves and our environment and our friends and our hobbies. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't even ask you a question. Hey, what did you do yesterday? It's none of your business.
Yeah, right.
Really? Okay. Yeah. So what do you have for dinner? I'm not telling you. You're going to come and eat my dinner? That's not friendship. So we need to kind of evaluate ourselves as man's best friend. Are we? I don't think so. Most of us are not. We think we are, but we're really not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
We have this amazing topic today, and we cover a lot of ground with that topic, which was food guarding to start with, and become resource guarding. And what will be the closing word for this show?
We should stop seeing things as aggressive. We should start seeing things for what they really are. It's an emotional expression of something the dog feels. Okay? If a dog feels the need to protect himself because he feels he's going to die, or his life is at threat, or his, quality of life is at risk, this is an expression of how to tell you that he feels that way. Mm-hmm. So we need to pay attention to this and not creating a monster of aggression just because the dog told you he doesn't feel good about it. Mm-hmm. And we shouldn't fall into the story that people says, oh, my dog growled at me, my kids are in danger. Right?
Yeah,
Dogs are not born aggressive.
Right.
And resource guarding is a natural behavior. We do resource guard as little children when we're fighting about getting to our breast milk. Mm-hmm. And crying and pushing and poking and biting at it. That's a part of aggression. Mm-hmm. If we wouldn't resource guard, we would die. We would not go shopping. We would not work hard. We would give everything away and keep something for ourselves.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. So we need to see, when we leave another species in our home, we should, first of all, be sure we offer the dog's needs first before starting complaining about things. Here, come here, buddy.
Yeah. And what I see, what I learned today is that it's almost like a barter and exchange type of relationship with the dog. If you don't want the dog to have something, don't pull it away from him. Give him something as an alternative or something that he would want, because it's going to be a natural instinct to want to have something else, what everybody else has. Mm-hmm. And resource guarding is something that people should know and recognize in shelters. I think that that's a really, really good point, that how can you identify what resource guarding is if you don't really know what it is?
Yeah.
Right,
So
right.
I think this show is something that should go to shelters so that they can recognize it rather than euthanize. There's definitely options available.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, there are.
Uh,
Especially around. I lost my train of thought. Anyway,
Well, meanwhile, we have the expression dogs is a man's best friend.
Yes.
Is the dog best friend?
not anymore. It seems we are so egocentric.
Women are.
No,
Oh,
yeah. Well,
excuse me.
I'm saying the man with a
Is
conscience.
human
Not the sexist. I'm so
is
sorry.
human dog
Yeah,
best
okay.
friend?
Man's best are people dog's best friend. Dogs are people's best friend. They have proven it over many thousands of years. Okay, they
Mhm.
help us evolve. We would not where we are right now if we didn't have those dogs.
Mhm.
But
Right.
right now, because we have other priorities now, those dogs become an asset. Is the problem?
Mhm.
And dogs in the past wouldn't be so aggressively reacting to environmental triggers if we would not put them on so much stress and so much restrictions.
Yep. Kathy,
Yes.
Who is
Roman,
married? Who is
Yeah.
married?
Who's Mario?
Oh,
I
wait a
thought he
minute.
said.
I said
Okay.
Mario, but because you remind me a guy named Mario.
Yeah.
But I hope he's not listening. You're much smarter than him.
Actually, my brother sent me a picture that looks just like you, Roman. It's of Matthew McConaughey. I actually next week's show, I'm going to show it because you do look very much like him in that picture.
Oh,
Picture.
okay.
Okay. Well, it's good to be back, folks. Good
Thank
to be
you so
back.
much,
Yeah.
everybody, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay. All right.
I see
See you
Kathy
then.
smiling. I see Roman
Yeah.
smiling. I see
Okay.
everybody smiling.
Bye,
Thank you.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.